This is a fascinating group of leaders and innovators here to talk about AI. I thought on this beautiful English day, we would start with all of us imagining taking a trip to warmer climates. And let's fire up GetYourGuide. Johannes, tell me if I'm going in as a consumer, how am I going to encounter AI and how will it help my experience?
Well, look, GetYourGuide, first and foremost, now is the largest consumer platform for booking experiences worldwide. We just broke the news this morning that we are now on the cusp of €1 billion in revenue, so that's commission revenue from us, customers and supply partners worldwide. We have more than 10 million experiences booked just in Q3, which is a 30% year-over-year growth uplift. And we've been profitable for the first time in the company history over the last 12 months. So producing cash flows, being fully EBITDA profitable. So big milestone for the company. And all of that is, to your question, helped and accelerated by AI. The business, if you think about it, is actually pretty cumbersome. So you have 35,000 local supply partners, anything from the Louvre or the Eiffel Tower or Madame Tussauds here to the local street food artisan in Italy, and getting all of that content online, aggregating it, helping merchants describe it properly, localizing it now into 40 different languages, making sure that consumers understand the differences between all of these experiences. And doing that in a very scalable way wasn't possible before AI. So AI really is a growth accelerator for us, and it's greatly enhancing our margins.
Do you have a sense about how many APIs you're using or how many different AI companies you're?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, there's a multi-pronged approach, right? We enhance our internal productivity, but then most of our investment of our own development goes to our supply partners, and then also into search rank and making sure that for consumers it's an easier experience to find the right travel experience, wherever they go. And there's AI basically along that entire value chain.
Yeah, and so a lot of your sort of experience managers, someone who's leading a tour guide, they're thinking about their finances. Maybe they're going to turn to Pigment. Eléonore, I'm going to turn to you on the enterprise side. How are you thinking about, I'm curious how you think about what is worth implementing and what's not. Like, what are the sort of cost benefits for using it?
Yeah, sure. So I would say, first of all, we've seen that most companies have big budgets right now for AI. So that's not the problem anymore. Every business leader, every CEO wants to implement AI. I think the problem is that they don't necessarily get yet the adoption, like the bottom-up adoption from every single contributor. So that's really where we try to help. And the way we've been thinking about it is really to think it through the pain of the individual contributors and the way we can really insert ourselves into their day-to-day workflow. So what I mean by that is, for instance, we work with FP&A teams, supply chain teams, and what we try is really to understand every day what is the painful workflow they have to go through, whether it's budget variance analysis, preparing for a board deck, etc., and try to automate that and make them fully productive on these things. So it's about being really seamless and helping integrate and not adding pain to what they do. So that's really what we try to do. Yesterday I was with one of the Barclays leaders, and he was telling me that for them, that's really where they see value today, is only when we are able to truly integrate into their day-to-day workflow without changing the output.
And they're a customer?
They are not yet a customer, but about to become one. So, yeah.
Wait, in that case, how many... Wait, are you charging per seat there with a bank like Barclays? How would that work?
So the way it works for us, the pricing today is really we charge per mission. Okay. So the way it works is really every time you do a mission with us, we will charge you. And I think over time we would like to move to even more like output-based pricing, so outcome-based pricing, which we think is very relevant, because the way we measure the success of our projects are really through one, adoption, two, accuracy, third, I would say productivity gains, and the fourth one is big business outcomes, and really being able to measure that with our customers.
Yeah, Shobie, I think you have a really interesting perspective because you're obviously coming from a different industry, but you spent time, if I'm talking about your past, in Silicon Valley. What were some of the key takeaways from your experience at Apple and Salesforce when you came into the pharmaceutical industry? I'm curious what worked and what you've seen, maybe what hasn't worked necessarily.
I think, so for those of you who don't know, GSK is a big biopharma company. We make transformational medicines and vaccines, and our hope is to unite science, technology, and talent together to get ahead of disease and hopefully impact 2.5 billion patients, people health positively over the next day, before the end of 2030. In terms of the transition between pharma and tech, I would say, one, in some ways, technologists are like carpenters. You get to work, you pretty much control the medium you work on, you can build anything, you can move in fast iteration cycles. And scientists, you're a little bit like gardeners. You have to work with what arises in biology. You got to work with nature as it arises. So it turns out a slightly different engineering problem than in the industry. So the cycles are definitely different. It takes over 10 to 12 years to bring a really big medicine to market. It takes billions of dollars. So for us, R&D productivity is probably the most important thing we can influence with technology. 9 out of 10 ideas fail. That's the norm in our industry. So being able to change that dynamic in any way by engineering biology in sensible ways and being able to digitally imagine the life cycle of disease and understand the progression of disease and intervene in the right stages is massive impact for patients and massive impact for the industry.
And so is shortening that timeline, that's like the number one priority?
Yes, shortening the timeline. But I think there's an element of efficiency that I think we all care about. Anyone who runs a business cares about that. But for us, equally exciting is the opportunity to identify new scientific hypotheses, alongside AI, which can see and process data very differently than humans can, is super exciting. And the other most important ability that we are able to have at our fingertips now is the ability to understand which patients will benefit from what medicines, and therefore we are targeting our clinical trials. We are designing our clinical trials much more effectively to reach everyone who can benefit from it. This is all completely not possible before AI and machine learning.
Matt, you've certainly looked at a fair share of companies. You probably looked at 3 this morning or something. But I'm going to start you off. What are some red flags for you when a company is trying to implement with AI?
Yeah, so it's actually an interesting segue to an investment we announced this morning. So thank you.
Oh, nice.
For the plan.
Of course.
This morning, one of the companies that we invested in is a company called Nexos, which is the latest company by this gentleman, Tom Akmanos, who's created NordVPN and Nord Security. And I think that the red flag that we see is like people are so eager to enable their teams with AI and these toolkits, they're not taking stock of the information that may be leaving their organization as they integrate and work with these tools, and that they're securely and optimizing, what's being sent where, how it's being sent, how it's being used, what costs are being incurred, are we doing things the most efficiently? And that's where Nexos comes in. Nexos is this new company here in Europe that's a platform to help enterprises securely empower their employees to use these external AI services, but take stock of what information is being shared, help obscure that in a way so that critical enterprise information is protected while using these AI tools. And so I think this is the red flag, is that companies just go all in and they don't take stock of what they're sharing. And I think like OpenAI has even shared explicitly, like they collect all of this information and they use it to make results better. And you may not want some of that information leaving your organization. We talk about sovereignty. There's also enterprise sovereignty. You may want to keep some of that inside your walls. And so I think using tools like Nexos is important, or taking stock in your strategy around being mindful with what is leaving your organization as you use these products is important.
Is that FOMO related? Is that people like moving too quickly and not having the proper enterprise
Look, I think with
protocol?
all new technologies, we all want to race to adopt them, and we should. And I think there's a competitive advantage to utilizing these tools to give people more productivity, to move faster, to make better decisions and build better businesses. And with all new waves of technologies, like mobile blew up the world and everybody was good with iPhones and how they can use them, and then all of a sudden came mobile security and ways to enable people to use iPhones in the enterprise in a very efficient way. And now we've had this huge productivity boost with the arrival of AI. And similarly, we need to take a few moments and think about what are the ways that we can use AI securely and managed in an efficient way that works for the enterprise. And I think that we'll see Nexos and other companies succeed as more CIOs focus on that in the months ahead.
Yeah, I think to even abandon the title of our panel here, I guess I'm curious, specifically getting down to what are the products. Eléonore, start with you. Because I believe that you use multi LLMs, right? You're not just a one LLM shop. What was that decision like? How many do you use now, and is there a maximum?
Yeah, so actually it has been a lot driven by our customers and by the demand. So today we work mostly with 3 models, OpenAI, Anthropic, and we've started also with Gemini. And this has really been driven by the customer demand. And obviously we cannot do exactly the same thing with all the models and what we are building at Pigment, but obviously you can get very, very close, especially because a lot of what we do is dealing with numbers. So a lot of the compute, etc., happens on Pigment, and we really must use the LLM as an interface. So it's very easy for us to have this interoperability.
Are there some LLMs that you've chosen not to integrate, and why was that?
No, not yet, I would say. And I mean, we will see over time, but I think, there are a couple more on the list. We just want to be very mindful about making sure that, everything we're building and the agents we are building are actually working. So we don't want to go too fast. It was a bit the same with the multi-cloud strategy. Now it's about that, and we just want to be very mindful about how we get them deployed.
Mm-hmm. Shobie, you must be getting so many pitches from AI agent companies right now, and
yeah.
How do you separate like something that's valuable versus something that's not?
I remember, as we just started out this scaling process, we've been doing AI/ML for a long time. My team used to come and tell me, we can enable 11,500 models on our platform. So I don't think we
need
many? 11,500
okay.
models or whatever. But I think the point here is that I think it's definitely there's all 3 horses in the game, and we're not particularly attached to any one model. We have the ability to find the right model for the right problem and apply it. So our developers are pretty savvy to know when to use what model. And we also are moving towards a lot of agent building. And I was with Ali Godsi and the Databricks team last week, and they were talking about dynamically agent building platforms are going to give developers the ability to say, based on the specific problem you're solving, what is the quality and the cost, and let you dynamically choose models as you build as well. So I think this is evolving pretty rapidly, and I would just simply say I'm not that interested in, I'm super curious as a technologist about the LLM innovation, but I'm here to create better vaccines and medicine. So from an application standpoint, I feel very comfortable that we have the ability to choose the right thing for the right problem.
When you say the 3 horses?
And small models as well. The 3 horses were the ones she referred to, which is OpenAI, Anthropic,
correct.
and Gemini. Yeah.
Which should be, given the topic of today, none of those are developed here or in Europe. Did you look at any models out of Europe or out of China?
Well, we gave Mistral a fair run and I've spoken to the team quite a bit. We gave them a fair run. They just didn't stand out as differentiated in anything we needed to do in our company. That doesn't mean it's not useful.
And is that last one here? Is that because they're not necessarily tailored to your industry? Or
it could be
general purpose, right?
It's not so much the industry as much as is it tailored to the specific problems, and is it differentiated for the specific problems we were trying to solve, and we didn't find any differentiation. We put it in the hands of developers to choose.
Yeah.
We gave them a fair shot. Yeah.
Johannes, your company was started 2009. So a little bit before ChatGPT. Tell me a little bit about sort of how you thought about machine learning and AI before 3 years ago, and then was that a ChatGPT moment? I mean, did that change?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, literally when the thing came out, I basically went to an all hands 2-3 days later, and said to the company, this is going to be more important than the launch of the iPhone for our company. And the iPhone basically created GetYourGuide because suddenly tourists were going around Europe. Roaming charges were coming down. People were looking for experiences. So that really drove our growth. But I do believe the ChatGPT moment will be even more important for the tech industry as a whole. And here's why. So I think at the end of the day, I think what we talk about today is still very much the early innings of how does productivity increase, or, how can we go from A to B. But the reality is when we really have companions and agents with us, I mean, just take my industry, the travel industry, what that really means for personalization and for being able to select offerings that are just completely different than what you have today. Today, you're still scrolling through very long lists of, very kind of undifferentiated inventory, and we've been in this kind of like mode of like continuous optimization based off of Google traffic and that long funnel. And I think all of that is going to go away over the next 10 to 20 years. But what makes me so excited as the CEO of GetYourGuide is that creates a unique opportunity to actually build these companions and to build these agents for consumer, because we have that rich supply and catalog data.
Would you build that companion?
Oh, totally. Ultimately, the way how I see this, and like I think we're very much obsessed about LLMs and all of that. I think my personal opinion is that will be mostly a commodity that you can plug into. But where you will differentiate is your value proposition towards the customer, regardless of the industry that you're in. And if you're in travel and if you have superior data sets of supply and of customer preferences, and you can come up with better recommendation for people, then ultimately you will be the brand and you will be the go-to destination. So maybe something that's a little bit kind of like interesting to notice, GetYourGuide not only has grown substantially, but also our brand and app traffic has exploded over the last 2 to 3 years.
Let's see.
And
can you give me a number to that?
We're close to 50% now. That used to be a significantly smaller number just 2 or 3 years ago in terms of our transaction volumes going through the app. So people are clearly coming to our own search bar.
Right.
So I don't think that, like that entire model of like everything happens in
You're still giving like 30% to Apple, right?
No, we don't have that. So that's only for subscription businesses.
Oh, got it.
That's a different business model. Uber, food delivery, GetYourGuide. Like we don't have that kind of like
nice.
arrangement with Apple. So people transact on our service. But I think the point is that I think it's a unique opportunity to build better search and relevance for the consumers of vertically specialized products.
You mentioned the sort of commoditized method. I'm going to turn to you. Do you think LLMs are commodities now? Will they be soon?
I think that there's this. It's similar to and I think the best analogy for LLMs is what happened with cloud infrastructure.
Yeah.
And people felt cloud infrastructure was going to become a commodity, and cloud infrastructure, the basic layer of core compute of cloud has, but all of the cloud infrastructure companies built applications on top that have us all hooked in and buying them and using them to fuel all of our different services and companies. And similarly, I think the successful AI companies, ChatGPT being a golden example, are building these incredible applications on top of these LLMs that are enabling them to be great businesses. So I think that, yes, there will be LLMs that will be available to the world, and you can access these LLMs, and they will be a commodity-like service. But I think that the businesses that are being built in these LLM providers are going to be hugely valuable companies, because like AWS, OpenAI, and Anthropic are sitting on top of a treasure trove of data, how we use these LLMs, us feeding them information as we access these LLMs, and then using that to make great applications that they're delivering to all of us as users.
So, well, it could be like yesterday where AWS goes down and takes down half the internet with it.
Yeah, I think there will be that risk, obviously, with these companies too. Like when these companies get large like this, when they have failures and challenges, they impact the whole world.
Yeah. And you, correct me if I'm wrong, you've not done any foundation model investments.
No, we have not. But that's not because of...
Would you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're looking at a couple right now. So
a couple of foundation model companies?
Yeah, yes, exactly. So
in Europe, or?
We're looking at one in the United States. So half of our investments are in Europe, half of our investments are in the US. Yeah. We're building our firm here in Europe because I think this is an incredible place to be, and London is an incredible place to build a venture capital firm. But I want us to be global in nature, so from the very beginning we've had this mentality, we will invest everywhere from San Francisco to Tel Aviv, and so half are in the US. But in this case, the ones that I'm looking at are in California, but that doesn't preclude, we have looked at them in Europe too, so.
Yeah, well, if you want to announce it, feel free to. Shobie, there was an interesting term that one of your colleagues told me that you like to say internally is don't do tech for tech's sake. Yeah. It's really fascinating to me. When has that happened? When is tech used for tech's sake?
Well, I think it's very easy with powerful technologies like this to get a bit obsessed with, is GSK an AI company? Is it a data company? Is it a science company? It's all of those things. But ultimately our core purpose, and that's where I think, I think Eléonore was trying to say, if we have to, ultimately, we have to integrate these phenomenal technologies into our core workflows, whether it's the discovery workflow, whether it's the drug development workflow, whether it's our manufacturing workflows or how we reach our customers. If we don't really reimagine work, it doesn't matter how cool the tech is, right? So for me, when we go down this path of like thinking about flying cars and all these amazing things, but today there are patients who are waiting for a medicine to come through, and some measure success by whether they live 6 months longer when they have cancer. So for me, it's very enormously grounding when you're in an industry like ours to say, what is this technology in service of? And for me, the more frustrating bits in any enterprise is when you see an imagination deficit, or to really reimagine work as we know it. Like I think you just talked about, we have to reimagine planning with AI. Who's doing that, right? When you see an imagination deficit, when you see a courage deficit, I can do it, but I don't know if I can go on that journey. Or then you run into a capability deficit. So you have to overcome all these things in order to make technology really do something for enterprises like ours. And so I'm much more fascinated by that journey of integrating the tech into the company and what we do as much as I am about the tech itself. So that's where I come from when I say I don't care about the tech for tech's sake.
Do you have, how many of your engineers are using what you would describe as like AI assistants right now?
Yeah, I mean, almost all the engineers in tech use AI assistants for coding, for testing, etc. So the engineers do. 10,000 of our scientists use LLMs so we put an LLM in the hands of every employee in the company through typical applications and assistants.
Is it a paid account, like your
Sorry?
Paid accounts or?
Well, we built some of it on. We built applications using OpenAI or Gemini in some cases, but mainly Azure OpenAI, and they're using it right now. 10,000 scientists are using it. We're building and deploying an AI scientist which co-generates scientific hypotheses based on both our data, but also externally available data, proprietary data that we buy, etc. So we are hoping that more and more of the
like an AI scientist is actually
yes.
someone who sort of reports into you?
I mean, no, the AI scientist is available to every scientist to use as a co-worker to be able to do their jobs better. So our hope is that a typical milestones in a scientific discovery process is the time from an idea to an experiment, and then from experiment to first time in humans. And we want to shorten that life cycle by anywhere up to 50% through the use of AI companions.
Yeah. Eléonore, one topic that's been very trendy recently is vibe coding. I'm curious how many people do you know inside Pigment are doing that right now?
Yeah, so pretty much all of our engineers are using either Cursor or Augment or other technology, Claude, etc. So we are always experimenting new technologies, but I would say it goes way beyond our engineers. It's really in every team at Pigment that we encourage to have as much trials as possible around all the new technologies that emerge, and that we also actually do our own version of vibe coding within the Pigment platform, because what we enable people is to do what I call vibe modeling. So the goal here is to help people model faster on Pigment, financial modeling, supply chain modeling. At the end of the day, all the leaders that are using Pigment, they want to go faster about what they do. They want to make decisions faster, and they want to have a better understanding of their business. So the faster they can build on the platform, the better it is. So we also are building our own agents that are really helping you build the models end to end.
How many of them are you, how long, is it a trial period for some of the vibe coding, do you think? Or would you describe it as you're actually committed customers?
No, I actually think so, especially for vibe coding. I do think today, some people really cannot work anymore without it. And I think also, it's not only vibe coding, I would say, it's also, so it's about using Cursor and Augment, etc., but it's also about using Lovable and really showing everything through prototypes. And that's actually also the approach we have now with Pigment, which is, most of the platforms out there, when you want to implement an ERP or an enterprise performance management platform, usually that takes months, that takes way too long, and you get to the result only at the end. And now what we want to do, and what we are starting to do with Pigment, is to show prototypes very early with the customer and show them really what things will look like, their apps really up and running very, very early on in the process, which is very new. And I think that brings a ton of value because you can really understand better. I think we haven't really been working like architects, like when you buy a house and when you hire an architect, architect, you want to see the house done before they actually start the work. And really, the problem with software and technology is that usually we started by doing the work before you finish the house. And this is the magic of, I think, the companies like Lovable or what Figma is doing, is that really now you can see the result much earlier. And this is what we're building in Pigment for our own use case.
Yeah, I love the architects, carpenter, gardener. That's good metaphors here. What? Go ahead.
If it's okay, what we gave out AI companions to 70,000 people in our company, and we didn't do any marketing on it. We put it out and we let people use it. 52,000 people log in every month because it makes their lives better.
What's the tool? Sorry. What's the tool? What tool are they using for the?
For what are they using it for? It's our AI assistant, which is built on OpenAI, but they use it for all kinds of personal tasks. So what's interesting is there's the opportunity is visible to the board, to the leadership.
Yeah.
The 50. Like I said, 80% of the people love the tools and they want to use it. It's about metabolizing it into the processes in the company that I think.
And I'm going to do some rapid fire. To start with you, what's the metric then? How are you measuring success? Is it just adoption internally, or is it something about cost savings? Is it something about improvement to cash flow?
We look at metrics through three lenses. One is outcome metrics. Has it improved? Does it help us make money, save money, move the medicine faster through the pipeline? We are absolutely relentless in chasing the outcome metrics. The second one that I look for are learning loops beginning to form between AI and humans, because without that, you can't really say you've got diffusion going on. And the third is fluency metrics, which is how many people are learning to use it. So we track all three.
Johannes, what are the main metrics you use for your AI implementation?
Definitely looking at adoption. We're obviously looking at productivity metrics across all of the different teams, but then frankly, we rather look at what are the business outcome metrics, and then AI is the tool to get there.
Yeah, Matt, when you think of companies, what's the main metric you ask them to?
Revenue growth.
Revenue growth, there you go.
I'm an investor, so I like to see revenue growth. I won't be shy about that. Like to see traction in the business.
And as in you want to see a direct line between the AI tools they're implementing and the.
Well, yeah, you want to see. So, for example, when we look at an AI company, are they having traction with their users? And they're having traction with their users because they're delighting them in some way. And so one of these companies we talked about on the stage is Lovable, which is like something we should all be proud of as people in Europe, that we have a company like that here with the growth that it's putting up and how it's reinventing the way people access and develop software.
You are a Lovable investor. We should.
Yeah, we are. Disclosure, small Lovable investor. But I think nobody's seen revenue growth like they have in Europe thus far at the rate that they're seeing it, and it's because they're opening up AI to a whole new set of users, and they're opening up software creation and imagination to a whole new set of people.
Yeah.
And so I think, when you see that, there's revenue growth. And so that's, as an investor, we like revenue growth.
Eléonore, quickly, one metric that you're looking for?
So it's interesting because I think it's different from one customer to the next. Okay. We've seen a lot of customers are still in the productivity look. So, I think about customers like ServiceNow or Uber that are really looking at how can they really improve their productivity and their cost structure. We have other customers that start really looking at business outcomes and really start thinking, for instance, Unilever or Coca-Cola, they use us for a lot of demand planning and supply chain planning, and they look at us more as what is my real ROI? And obviously they are bigger companies, so that works really well. And then we have also companies like Anthropic that are really looking deeply at adoption and making sure that as many people as possible are using the tool. So we have this broad set of metrics that are all as important for us. Obviously, accuracy is one we didn't talk enough about. You talked about it, Matt, but the importance of governance, auditability, accuracy is something that companies have to track very carefully, especially with a company like Pigment that deals with very strategic data and numbers. But I would say overall, over time, clearly everybody will go to business outcomes and to not only how much it's saving my cost, but how much can I really accelerate growth with AI, which is what Johannes talked about, and how much can I be resilient with that.
And with a real quick yes or no, rapid fire. I'll start with you, Eléonore. Would you buy an AI company just because they're European? Yes or no?
Would I buy an AI company?
Would you buy their service? Would you buy them use them as a customer?
Just because they are European? I would buy the best technology.
Okay, Matt?
Yeah, no, buy the best technology.
Buy the best tech?
Yeah, no.
Okay, quick, good. AI, are we in an AI bubble?
Are we in an AI bubble?
Yeah.
You want to start, Johannes?
Yes.
Okay.
I think partly yes, but I think it'll eventually be like the e-com burst. There'll be some destruction and then ultimate value creation.
Great. Matt?
No.
Okay.
I think it's a revolution. And revolution has to go with large amounts of funding. We saw that with the cloud revolution. We see that again, it's a true revolution. We haven't even scratched the surface. And so probably, yes, there will be a lot of companies that are not going to work out and where we will have wasted a lot of money. But that's OK, because the greatness will come out of that revolution.
Great. Thank you so much to all of you. Really appreciate it. Thank you all. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.